There is something happening right now that you cannot fully explain with the part of your mind that organizes your calendar and remembers what you had for breakfast. Something older than that. Something that has been moving beneath the surface of your ordinary awareness for longer than this lifetime, longer than you have language to describe. And the fact that you are here, in this exact moment, watching this exact transmission is not coincidence. It is not the algorithm. It is not chance. It is the culmination of a journey that has been building across centuries, across incarnations, across the vast and patient architecture of a soul that has finally arrived at the threshold it has been walking toward since before you knew you were walking. Stop for a moment. Just stop. Feel the quality of this moment. Not the room around you, not the device in your hand, not the list of things you were supposed to do before you ended up here. Feel the quality of your own attention right now, because something in you recognized something in this transmission before your conscious mind had time to evaluate it. That recognition, that pull, that quiet but unmistakable sense of "this is for me," that is not imagination. That is the monad stirring. That is the eternal part of you, the indestructible core, the point of light that has never been fragmented, no matter how fragmented your life has sometimes felt, responding to a frequency it has been waiting to encounter again. You were chosen, not by me, not by some external force that operates outside of you. You were chosen by the deepest version of yourself, the version that exists before this name, before this body, before this story you have been telling about who you are and why things have happened the way they have happened. That version of you, the pilgrim, the monad, the eternal witness, reached forward through time and through the noise of a world that never stops demanding your attention, and it placed you here, in this seat, in this moment, for this transmission. And tonight, something opens. Not metaphorically, not as a pleasant spiritual concept you can carry around like a crystal in your pocket and take out when you feel like it. Tonight, something actually opens. A window in the architecture of your consciousness that has been sealed, not by your enemies, not by circumstance, not by the wounds of your past, but by the simple fact that you were not yet ready. You are ready now, and the readiness itself is the key. The readiness itself is the activation. Here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. Hidden inside the most ancient alchemical and philosophical traditions ever recorded, traditions that predate the religions you know by thousands of years, is a map. A precise, intricate, breathtakingly personal map of your soul's exact purpose. Not a general map. Not a map that works for everyone who reads it in the same way. A map that is specific to the frequency you carry, to the signature of consciousness that makes you irreducibly you. And tonight, you learn how to read it. Let that land for a moment. Your soul has a purpose that is exact, not approximate, not general, exact. And the ancient ones knew this. The mystery schools of Alexandria, the Neoplatonic philosophers who gathered around the teachings of Plotinus, the Theosophical adepts who mapped the journey of the eternal pilgrim across ages and incarnations, the Pythagorean brotherhoods who understood that number and vibration are the language of creation itself. They all knew. They protected this knowledge not because they wanted to keep it from you, but because they understood something that our modern world has almost completely forgotten. Readiness is not just a feeling. Readiness is a frequency, and certain transmissions can only be received when the receiver has been tuned to the correct octave. Your octave just shifted. That is why you are here. Now let's go deeper. There is a concept at the heart of all genuine esoteric tradition, a concept so fundamental that it underlies everything from the ancient Greek mystery schools to the Kabbalah, to the Vedantic traditions of India, to the alchemical texts of medieval Europe. And it is this: before division, there is unity. Before the many, there is the one. Before the fragmented, scattered, anxious, searching experience of ordinary human consciousness, there is a state of absolute wholeness, absolute self-sufficiency, absolute light. The philosophers called it the monad, the one, the indivisible point of consciousness that contains within itself the totality of everything that exists. Leibniz, the great 17th century philosopher and mathematician, described the monad as a simple substance without windows, meaning it does not receive its reality from outside itself. It reflects within itself the totality of the universe. You are not a fragment of something larger. You are the whole, operating at a specific coordinate. Your consciousness is not a piece of the cosmic puzzle. It is the entire puzzle, experienced from a unique and irreplaceable perspective. Read that again, or rather, hear it again. Let it move through you rather than just across you. You are not a part of the whole. You are the whole expressing itself through the particular lens of your existence. Your individuality is not evidence of your separation from the divine. It is the method through which the divine knows itself. You are the universe experiencing itself through the singular, unrepeatable frequency that is you. This is the monad. This is what the ancient alchemists were pointing at when they spoke of the philosopher's stone, that legendary substance that could transmute base metals into gold. They were not talking about chemistry. They were never talking about chemistry. They were talking about consciousness. The philosopher's stone is the recognition of your own monadic nature. The transmutation is the alchemical process of transforming a fragmented, fear-based, externally dependent identity into the gold of unified, self-sufficient, indestructible awareness. And this process, this sacred and irreversible process, is what tonight is about. If this transmission is already moving something in you, like this video and subscribe to the channel so these transmissions continue to find you when you need them most. Now let's keep going. But here is what no one tells you about this journey. And I need you to hear this clearly because it changes everything about how you understand where you are right now. The path to the monad does not begin with gaining something. It begins with losing something. Specifically, it begins with the death of something that was never real to begin with. The death of the fragmented self. the death of the identity that was built, brick by brick, from the outside in, from other people's expectations, from wounds that taught you to make yourself smaller, from a culture that profits from your belief in your own inadequacy, from the accumulated scar tissue of a soul that has lived many lives and carries the imprints of all of them. The Pythagoreans had a name for the principle of division. They called it the dyad, the two, the principle of separation, conflict, duality. And they understood that most human beings live their entire lives in the dyad, experiencing themselves as fragments, in competition with other fragments, seeking outside themselves for what can only be found within, building identities made of comparison and fear, and the desperate need for external validation. The dyad is not evil. It is not a mistake. It is a stage of consciousness. But it is a stage you have outgrown. You have felt this, haven't you? This sense of being too large for the container you have been living in. This sense that the identity you have been performing, the roles you have been playing, the narrative you have been carrying about who you are and why your life looks the way it looks, none of it quite fits anymore. There is a friction between who you have been told you are and who you know yourself to be, at some level that precedes language. That friction is not a problem. That friction is the necessary pressure that produces the pearl. The oyster does not choose to make the pearl. It makes the pearl because something entered its shell that it could not ignore. Something that created an irritation, a disruption, a persistent reminder that the current state of things is not the final state of things. And rather than expelling the irritant, the oyster surrounds it, layer by layer, with something luminous. The pearl is not the removal of the irritation. The pearl is the transformation of the irritation into beauty. Your discomfort is the irritant. Your awakening is the pearl. And here is where everything shifts. The crisis you are facing right now, the intensity of this period of your life, the sense that everything is moving faster than you can process, the simultaneous collapse of old structures, and the emergence of something new that you cannot yet fully name. This is not happening to you. This is happening through you. This is the alchemical fire of the great work. This is the furnace of transformation that the ancient texts described as the dark night of the soul, the necessary dissolution of the false self so that the true self can emerge, undiluted, uncontaminated, blazing with the light of its own essential nature. Plotinus, the 3rd century philosopher who stands at the summit of the Neoplatonic tradition, described this process as epistrophe, the return, the soul's great turning away from the external world and back toward its own source. He understood that the journey of consciousness is not a linear progression from ignorance to knowledge. It is a circular journey, a spiral that begins in unity, descends into the experience of multiplicity and separation, and then, when the soul has gathered enough experience in the world of forms, begins the great return, the return to the One, the return to the monad. You are in the return phase. That is what this urgency you feel is. That is what this unnameable longing that lives in the center of your chest is. It is not anxiety. though it may feel like anxiety. It is not restlessness, though it may feel like restlessness. It is the gravitational pull of your own origin. It is the monad calling itself home. Let me take you somewhere. Imagine a vast library. Not a library like any you have visited in this life, but a library that exists at a level of reality that underlies all physical reality. The library of the universal logos. The library of all that has ever been known, all that is being discovered, all that will be revealed. Every soul that has ever existed has a file in this library. Not a file of their accomplishments or their failures or their relationships, but a file of their frequency, their unique vibrational signature, the irreducible pattern of light that makes them precisely who they are and no one else. In this library, there is a librarian. We will call her Sophia. She has been the keeper of this library since before time organized itself into the sequence of moments we experience as history. Sophia does not read the files. She does not need to read them. She is made of the same substance as the files. She knows every frequency the way a musician knows every note, not by studying it, but by resonating with it. One day, a soul arrives at the library. We will call him Aleph. Aleph has been traveling for a very long time. He has worn many faces, many names, many bodies. He has been a student and a teacher, a warrior and a healer, a father and a child, a servant and a king. He has experienced the full spectrum of what it means to exist in a world of duality, of separation, of the dyad. And now he stands at the entrance to the library, not because he chose to come here, but because something in him, some deep and wordless knowing, led his feet to this door. Sophia looks up from her work. She sees Aleph standing in the doorway, and she smiles, not with surprise, with recognition. She has been expecting him. Not today specifically, not in this particular form, but at some point, because every soul eventually arrives at the library. Every soul eventually reaches the moment of maturation when the outward journey has given everything it can give, and the inward journey must begin. She reaches into a section of the library that Aleph cannot see from where he stands, and she removes a single volume. She places it on the table in front of him. He looks at the cover. There is no title. There is no author. There is only a symbol, a single point of light, surrounded by concentric circles of radiance. The symbol of the monad. He opens the book, and the first page contains only his own name, written in a script he does not recognize but somehow can read perfectly. And beneath his name, a single sentence. You are not a fragment seeking wholeness. You are wholeness, learning to remember itself. Aleph sits down at the table, and for the first time in all his long journey across all his many lives, he stops searching, because he understands. The library was never external to him. He was always the library. The map he was looking for was always the territory he was standing on. The knowledge he was seeking was always the consciousness doing the seeking. And you are both Aleph and the library. You are both the pilgrim and the destination. Part of you has been traveling for so long that the traveling has become your identity. Part of you has forgotten that the journey was always in service of an arrival. And tonight is the arrival. Now let's go deeper into what this actually means for your life right now. The monad, your true nature, has specific characteristics that the ancient philosophers mapped with extraordinary precision. And when you understand these characteristics, something in your current experience begins to make a different kind of sense. A sense that is not just intellectual, but cellular. A sense that reorganizes the way you understand your own history. The first characteristic is this: the monad is self-sufficient. It does not need anything outside itself to be complete. It is not lacking. It is not searching. It does not have a void that needs to be filled by a relationship or a recognition or an achievement or an accumulation of material things. The monad is already full, already whole, already, in the most precise philosophical sense of the word, perfect. Now here is what this means for you. Every time in your life that you have felt that aching, desperate, hollow hunger for something you could not name, something that no relationship ever fully satisfied, something that no success ever completely delivered, something that no amount of external validation ever permanently filled. You were not experiencing a deficiency in yourself. You were experiencing the contrast between your monadic nature and the dyad-based identity you had been given to wear. You were feeling the distance between who you truly are and who you had been told you were. That hunger was not evidence of your brokenness. That hunger was evidence of your depth. The monad is also indivisible. It has no parts. It cannot be fragmented. It cannot be wounded at its core. Now, this does not mean that you do not feel pain. It does not mean that the personality, the ego, the human self is invulnerable. Of course it is not. Of course you feel pain. Of course the losses and the betrayals and the disappointments of your life have left marks. But here is the truth that changes everything. The part of you that feels that pain is not the deepest part of you. The part of you that has been wounded is the dyad self, the constructed identity, the personality that was built from the outside in. The monad, the real you, the eternal you, has never been wounded, has never been divided, has never been diminished by a single thing that has ever happened to you. You are not broken. You have never been broken. You have only been temporarily convinced that the wound was the whole story, when the wound was always just a chapter in a much larger and much more luminous narrative. The third characteristic, and this one is perhaps the most profound. The monad contains within itself the information of the whole. Leibniz described each monad as a living mirror of the universe. Every point of consciousness reflects within itself the totality of all consciousness. This means that within you, right now, in the silence beneath your thoughts, in the stillness beneath your emotions, in the depth beneath your history, is access to everything. Not metaphorically, not as a spiritual platitude, as a literal description of the architecture of consciousness. The ancient mystery schools protected this knowledge because they understood that most people, operating from the level of the dyad, from the level of the fragmented ego, would either dismiss it as fantasy or attempt to use it in ways that would ultimately harm them. Readiness was not gatekeeping. Readiness was protection. The transmission could only be received safely by a consciousness that had undergone sufficient purification, sufficient dissolution of the false self, sufficient willingness to let the old identity die so that the true one could emerge. You are ready. That is why you are here. Not because you are perfect. Not because you have resolved every wound and answered every question and achieved some ideal state of spiritual development. You are ready because you are willing, because the willingness itself is the frequency that opens the door. Feel what happens in your body when you hear this. There is a practice I want to give you now. Not a ritual, not a technique, a practice. And the distinction matters. A technique is something you do. A practice is something you become. This practice is the entry point to the silence that the ancient philosophers described as the source of all genuine wisdom. The silence of the monad, the still point at the center of the turning wheel. Pause here. This is not symbolic. This is energetic. Place your hands on the center of your chest. Not because the heart is a metaphor for emotion, though it is that too, but because the center of the chest is the location of what the ancient traditions called the spiritual heart, the point of connection between your human identity and your divine essence. The seat of the monad in the body. Take a breath, not a performed breath, a real breath. Let the air come in without effort. Let it fill the space behind your hands. Let it expand the center of your chest. And as you exhale, let go of one layer. Not all of it. Not the whole accumulated weight of everything you have been carrying. Just one layer. The outermost layer. The performance. The effort to appear a certain way. The vigilance. Just one layer. Now take another breath. And as you exhale, let go of another layer. The story. The narrative about why things are the way they are. The explanation you have rehearsed so many times that it has become more real to you than the actual experience it was meant to describe. Just one layer, one more breath. And as you exhale, let go of the question. The question of what you are supposed to do, where you are supposed to go, who you are supposed to become. Just for this moment, just in the cease of this exhale. Let the question dissolve. What remains? If you are present with this, you will notice something. In the space after the question dissolves, there is something still there. Something there that was always there, underneath the performance, underneath the story, underneath the question. Something quiet, something steady, something that does not need anything to be different than it is in this moment. Something that is not searching. That is the monad. That is you. That is the you that predates every wound, every conditioning, every identity you have ever been given or constructed. That is the you that the ancient philosophers spent entire lifetimes trying to point toward. And you just touched it. In the space of 3 breaths. Let that land. Now let me tell you about the pilgrim, because the monad does not just exist in abstract philosophical space. It has a history, a vast, incomprehensibly rich history that stretches across more time than your current personality can comfortably hold. Helena Blavatsky, drawing on the deepest currents of the Theosophical tradition, described the monad as the eternal pilgrim, the triad of Atma, Buddhi, Manas, spiritual will, divine intuition, and higher mind. The immortal core that traverses ages and forms, wearing body after body, personality after personality, accumulating experience and refining its light through the full spectrum of existence in the world of matter and form. Your current personality, the name you answer to, the face you see in the mirror, the history you carry, is one of the many costumes worn by this immortal actor. One scene in a play that has been running for longer than you can imagine. And the scene you are in right now, this scene, this period of your life, with all its intensity and its urgency and its simultaneous collapse and emergence, is not an ordinary scene. It is the culminating scene of a very long arc. Think about your journey up to this exact moment. Not the pleasant parts only, all of it. The crises that brought you to your knees, the losses that redrew the map of your reality, the encounters that seemed random at the time, but left marks so deep that you have never fully recovered from them, nor would you want to, because those marks changed the direction of your life in ways that in retrospect look less like damage and more like precision. The relationships that broke you open, the failures that stripped away identities that were too small for you anyway, the moments of inexplicable knowing, of recognition, of déjà vu so profound that it shook something loose in your understanding of what time actually is. None of that was random, not one moment of it. Leibniz's principle of pre-established harmony, which sounds like a dry philosophical concept until you feel it in your own life, suggests that each monad acts in perfect synchronicity with all others, not through direct causal connection, but because they all follow the same divine script. The universe did not push you through those experiences randomly. Those experiences were calibrated. They were the curriculum of a soul that had specific lessons to learn, specific qualities to develop, specific strengths to forge in the fire of lived experience, because those strengths would be needed now, at this threshold, for what comes next. You are not a beginner on this journey. You are a veteran. You carry within your cellular memory the accumulated wisdom of lifetimes of experience. The familiarity you feel with certain ideas, certain places, certain people you have just met, but somehow already know. The inexplicable competence you have in certain areas that you never formally studied. The depth of your emotional intelligence, your sensitivity, your capacity to perceive things that others seem to miss entirely. These are not accidents of this lifetime. These are the inheritance of the pilgrim, the tools you have accumulated across many lives to fulfill the mission of this one. And here is the thing about this particular moment in your journey. The ancient traditions described a concept they called the completion of a cycle, a point in the soul's evolution where the karma accumulated across many lifetimes reaches a critical mass of resolution, where the lessons have been learned, not perfectly, but sufficiently, where the soul is ready to graduate from one level of consciousness to the next, where the pilgrim, after all the long wandering, is finally ready to return home. This is that moment for you. This is why your life has been so intense. This is why everything seems to be happening at once. You are not breaking down. You are condensing centuries of evolution into a compressed period of transformation. The intensity is not punishment. The intensity is acceleration. You are being forged, not destroyed. I want to pause here and ask you something. Has there been a moment in your life, maybe recently, maybe years ago, when you felt your energy field activate in a way you could not explain? A moment of sudden clarity, of inexplicable peace, of feeling untouchable by the chaos around you. Drop it in the comments. These moments of recognition are not random, and this community is a field. When you share yours, you activate something in someone else who needed to remember. Here's what no one tells you about this kind of acceleration. It does not feel like progress while you are in it. It feels like chaos. It feels like loss. It feels like everything you built your life on is becoming unreliable, unstable, uncertain. And that is precisely what is supposed to happen, because everything you built your life on, that was built on the foundation of the dyad, on the foundation of the fragmented ego identity, on the foundation of fear and comparison, and the need for external validation, all of that must become unstable. Not because the universe is punishing you, because the universe is making space. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. The container must change before the new substance can be held. The death of separation, the death of the dyad identity, is not a gentle process. The ancient texts did not describe the dark night of the soul as a pleasant afternoon of reflection. They described it as a fire, a consuming, terrifying, disorienting fire that burns away everything that is not essential. And what survives the fire, what emerges on the other side of this burning, is not a new identity built on better materials. What emerges is the recognition that the identity you were looking for was never something to be built. It was always something to be uncovered. The monad was always there, beneath the performance, beneath the story, beneath the wound, beneath the question, always there, always whole, always luminous. And the recognition of the monad changes the architecture of your reality in ways that are not merely psychological, not merely philosophical. The ancient ones understood this. Consciousness does not just observe reality. Consciousness creates reality. When you operate from the level of the dyad, from the level of the fragmented, fear-based, externally dependent identity, you create a reality that reflects that frequency back to you. Fragmentation attracts fragmentation. Lack attracts lack. Fear attracts more reasons to be afraid. Not because the universe is cruel, but because the universe is a perfect mirror. It can only show you what you are radiating. When you operate from the level of the monad, when you anchor your awareness in the self-sufficient, indivisible, luminous core of your own consciousness, the mirror changes. Not overnight. Not in a single dramatic moment of transformation, though there are such moments. Gradually, and then suddenly, the reality that forms around you begins to reflect a different frequency. Synchronicities multiply. The right people appear at the right moments. Opportunities emerge from directions you were not looking. Not because you have learned a technique for manifesting, because you have aligned the instrument of your consciousness with its true frequency, and the universe, which is nothing other than consciousness recognizing itself, responds to that alignment with a precision that the fragmented mind would call miraculous. This is not magic. This is mechanics. This is the principle of resonance operating at the level of consciousness itself. What you vibrate at, you attract. What you are, you become untouchable by at the frequency below it. Your halo, your personal energy field, the radiance of your own monadic nature, when it is fully activated and fully acknowledged, is not just beautiful, it is protective. It is the frequency that low vibration chaos cannot penetrate, not because you are defended against it, but because you have risen above the frequency at which it operates. You do not fight the darkness. You become the light that makes the darkness irrelevant. Let me take you somewhere else now. There is an old alchemical image. You will find versions of it in the manuscripts of medieval Europe, in the Hermetic texts of Alexandria, in the philosophical diagrams of the Neoplatonic tradition. The image is of a single point at the center of a series of concentric circles. The point represents the monad. The circles represent the successive layers of manifestation through which the monad expresses itself as it descends into the world of matter and form, mind, soul, body, world. Most people, operating from the level of ordinary consciousness, experience themselves as living on the outermost circle, in the world, in the body, in the drama of circumstances. They look inward and see the next circle, the circle of their emotional life, their relationships, their personal history, and they take that to be the self. They look further inward and encounter the circle of their thoughts, their beliefs, their mental frameworks, and they take that to be the self. And and they stop there. Because the journey further inward requires something that the fragmented mind is deeply reluctant to offer. It requires the willingness to let go of every layer of identity that has been constructed on the outer circles, to pass through the emptiness that lies between each circle and the next, to endure the vertigo of being nobody, of being no particular story, of being no particular wound, no particular achievement, no particular name, in order to arrive at the still point at the center. That still point is not nothing. It is everything. It is the fullness that the Neoplatonists called the One. It is the silence that is not empty, but pregnant with all possible sound. It is the darkness that is not the absence of light, but the source of all light. It is the monad, and the journey to that still point is the most important journey you will ever take, more important than any external journey, more important than any achievement or acquisition or relationship or experience that the outer circles of your life can offer. Because everything that happens on the outer circles is a reflection of what is happening at the center. Change the center and everything changes. Align with the monad, and the whole architecture of your reality reorganizes itself around that alignment. This is the map that was hidden in the ancient alchemical texts. This is the personal map of your soul's exact purpose, not a map of where to go or what to do or who to become. A map of where to look, inward, always inward, through the layers, through the stories, through the wounds, through the questions, to the still point, to the monad, to you. And here is the activation practice that the ancient mystery schools used to facilitate this journey. The practice of central silence, the practice of the still point. Pause here. This is not symbolic. This is energetic. Close your eyes if you can. If you cannot close your eyes, soften your gaze. Let your visual field become unfocused, peripheral, wide. Bring your attention to the center of your chest, not the heart in the medical sense. The center of the chest, the spiritual heart. Now, instead of directing your attention outward toward any object or thought or sensation, turn your attention around. Point it inward. Not toward the thoughts, not toward the emotions, not toward the body sensations. Behind all of those, beneath all of those, to the awareness itself, the awareness that is aware of the thoughts, the awareness that is aware of the emotions, the awareness that is aware of the body, that awareness, that pure, contentless, boundless awareness that is the monad, that is you. Rest there, even if it is only for a moment, even if the thoughts immediately return and the emotions immediately reassert themselves. The ordinary mind immediately begins its commentary. Rest there, even briefly, because each time you rest there, even briefly, you are strengthening the connection between your ordinary awareness and your monadic awareness. You are training the muscle of recognition. You are practicing the return. Say this out loud if you are able. or say it silently if you need to. Say it with your whole being, not just your voice. I am the awareness behind the thought. I am the stillness behind the storm. I am the monad. I am whole. I am complete. I am home. Feel what happens in your body when you say this. Not what you think should happen, what actually happens. There may be a settling, a softening, a release of something you did not realize you were holding. There may be a warmth in the center of your chest. There may be tears, not of sadness, but of recognition. There may be nothing that you can identify as a sensation, but a subtle shift in the quality of the silence around and within you. Whatever you notice, that is the right experience. There is no wrong experience here. The monad does not grade you. It simply receives you. Let that land. Now let me speak to you about something that the ancient traditions understood, but that our modern spiritual culture often misses. The activation of the monad is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of a new kind of journey. And this new journey has a quality that is fundamentally different from the old one. The old journey, the journey of the dyad, was characterized by seeking, by effort, by the experience of lack and the attempt to fill it, by the sense that what you needed was somewhere other than where you were. The new journey, the journey of the monad, is characterized by recognition, by alignment, by the experience of fullness meeting fullness, by the sense that what you have been looking for has always been present, and the only thing that has changed is your capacity to see it. This does not mean that challenges disappear. It does not mean that the outer circles of your life immediately reorganize themselves into perfect harmony. It does not mean that you will never feel pain or confusion or uncertainty again. The monad is not a spiritual bypass. It is not a way of avoiding the full experience of being human. It is a way of experiencing the full spectrum of being human from a different center, from the still point, from the place of unshakable peace that can hold the full weight of human experience without being crushed by it. Plotinus described this as being the still point at the center of the turning wheel. The wheel turns. Of course it turns. Life moves, changes, brings joy and sorrow, expansion and contraction, connection and loss. The wheel always turns. But the center of the wheel does not turn. The center of the wheel is still. And when you are anchored in the center, in the monad, in the still point of your own deepest nature, you can experience the full turning of the wheel without being thrown off by it. You can feel everything without being consumed by anything. You can be fully present to the drama of your life without being identified with it. You are the sky, not the clouds. You are the ocean, not the waves. This is what the ancient texts meant when they described the monad as invulnerable. Not invulnerable in the sense of not feeling. Invulnerable in the sense that what is felt cannot diminish the essential nature of the one who feels it. Pain can no longer define you. Loss can no longer destroy you. Failure can no longer convince you that you are a failure at the level of your being. Because you know, not as a belief, but as a lived recognition, that the being is prior to all of these experiences. The being is the monad. The being is indestructible. Here's the truth that changes everything about your relationship with your own history. Every difficulty you have ever faced was a transmission. Every loss was a teaching. Every crisis was a calibration. Not because suffering is good, or because pain should be sought out, or because the difficult things in your life were not genuinely difficult, but because the soul that has arrived at the threshold of monadic activation is a soul that has been prepared for this arrival by everything it has experienced. The preparation was not always comfortable. Preparation rarely is, but it was precise. It was purposeful, and it was, from the perspective of the eternal pilgrim, exactly what was needed. The crises condensed your evolution. The losses stripped away what was not essential. The encounters that broke your heart open were the encounters that made your heart large enough to hold what it now needs to hold. You were not punished. You were prepared, and the preparation is complete. This is what I mean when I say that tonight something opens. Not because tonight is a special date on a calendar, not because some external cosmic event is occurring that will affect everyone regardless of their readiness. Tonight is special because you are here. Because you arrived at this transmission at this moment. Because the readiness that has been building across all the experiences of this life and all the lives before it has reached the critical threshold. And the critical threshold is the activation. The monad does not activate gradually, the way a muscle develops through consistent exercise. The monad activates in a moment, a single moment of genuine recognition, a single moment of actually knowing, not just believing, not just hoping, not just intellectually understanding, but actually knowing from the inside, from the center, from the still point, that you are not a fragment. You are the whole. That you are not seeking. You are the sought. That you are not on the way home. You are home. You have always been home. You simply forgot, and now you are remembering. That moment of remembrance is the activation, and it is irreversible. Not in a frightening way, in a liberating way. Once you have genuinely touched the monad, once you have genuinely rested in the still point, even briefly, even imperfectly, you cannot fully return to the belief that you are only the fragment. You cannot fully return to the conviction that the wound is the whole story. You cannot fully return to the experience of being a reactive piece on a cosmic chessboard with no agency and no connection to the intelligence that moves through all things. Something has shifted. Something has opened. Something has remembered. And that remembrance, once it has occurred, becomes the new foundation, the new center, the new ground from which everything else grows. This is the activation the ancient mystery schools were preparing their initiates for. This is the philosopher's stone. This is the great work. This is the transmutation of lead into gold. the lead of the fragmented, fear-based, externally dependent ego identity into the gold of the self-sufficient, indestructible, luminous monad. And you are ready for it. You have always been ready for it. The readiness was never the question. The question was always the timing, and the timing is now. Let me give you one more practice before we move toward the close of this transmission. This practice is specifically for the moments when the dyad reasserts itself, because it will. The activation of the monad does not mean the permanent disappearance of the ego identity. The ego is not the enemy. The ego is a tool, a useful, necessary tool for navigating the world of form. The problem was never the ego itself. The problem was the misidentification of the ego as the self. The problem was taking the tool to be the user of the tool. When you know yourself as the monad, the ego becomes what it was always meant to be, a servant of the deeper self, not a substitute for it. But the old patterns of identification are strong. They have been reinforced across a lifetime, and in many cases across many lifetimes. They will reassert themselves. There will be moments when you forget, when the wound feels like the whole story again, when the fragment feels like the only reality, when the still point seems impossibly far away and the turning wheel seems to be everything. In those moments, this is the practice, not a meditation, not a ritual. 3 words: I am home. Not as a positive affirmation, not as a statement you are trying to convince yourself of, as a remembrance, as a return, as the simplest possible gesture toward the still point. I am home. Said inwardly, said to the monad, said from the part of you that has never forgotten to the part of you that temporarily has. I am home. And then, even if the emotions continue, even if the thoughts continue, even if the circumstances have not changed, something in the center will shift. A degree, a fraction, enough. Because the monad does not need you to be perfect. It does not need you to have eliminated all your wounds, or resolved all your questions, or achieved some ideal state of consciousness. It only needs you to remember. And the remembrance is always available. Always. In every moment. In every circumstance. I am home. Type this exact phrase in the comments. I am home. The monad activates, not because the comment does something magical in the external world, but because the act of writing it, of declaring it publicly, of anchoring it in the shared field of this community, is itself a gesture of commitment, a signal to your own consciousness that the recognition is real, that the activation is accepted, that the return has begun. And while you are in the comments, tell me this. Has there been a synchronicity in your life recently? Something that felt too precise to be coincidence, that confirmed you were moving in the right direction? A message that arrived at exactly the right moment? A person who appeared when you needed them? A door that opened the moment you stopped forcing it? Share it below. Your story is not just yours. It is a transmission to everyone who reads it. we are building something here together, not just a community of viewers, a field, a coherent field of monadic consciousness that strengthens every time one of us remembers, every time one of us returns to the still point, every time one of us chooses the monad over the dyad, the unity over the fragment, the home over the wandering. Leibniz's pre-established harmony suggests that each monad acts in perfect synchronicity with all others. This means that your awakening is not just yours. It sends ripples through the entire web of consciousness. Every time you remember, you make it easier for someone else to remember. Every time you activate, you amplify the field. You are not just healing yourself. You are contributing to the healing of the collective. This is the service the ancient mystery schools were preparing their initiates for. Not the service of performing spiritual practices for the benefit of others. The service of being so fully aligned with your own monadic nature that the radiance of that alignment becomes a transmission in itself, becoming the light that activates the light in others, not by teaching, not by preaching, not by performing, simply by being, simply by radiating the frequency of your own essential nature so clearly and so consistently that those who encounter you are reminded of their own. Your frequency is your protection, and your frequency is your gift to the world. These are not two separate things. The same radiance that makes you untouchable by low-frequency chaos is the same radiance that activates the dormant monad in those around you. The halo is both shield and lamp, both protection and illumination, both personal and universal. Here's where everything comes together. The ancient alchemical map of your soul's purpose is not a set of instructions for what to do. It is a description of what you are. It is the map of the monad, the map of the still point, the map of the home that you have been carrying within you through all your long wandering. And reading this map does not require special training or esoteric knowledge or years of spiritual practice, though all of those things can help. Reading this map requires only the willingness to turn inward, to pass through the layers, to endure the vertigo of the threshold between the dyad and the monad, between the fragment and the whole, between the seeking and the finding, to rest, even briefly, even imperfectly, in the still point, and then to bring what you find there back into the outer circles of your life. Not as a teaching, as a quality, as a frequency, as the particular and irreplaceable radiance of a monad that has remembered itself and is now consciously and deliberately illuminating the world from the inside out. This is your purpose, not a specific role or career or mission, though those things may become clearer as the activation deepens. Your purpose is to be the monad.